Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. I know nothing about this story until one of you brought it to my attention, and I don't want to know about this story, but I know you want to talk about it, so go ahead.
I just don't believe her.
Believe I don't even give some
I
background.
mean, I gotta start that way.
I don't know nothing about this story. What is this all about?
What did you say, Aisha? You
I
believe
just
her?
don't believe. I don't believe her.
Yeah, I don't either. I feel bad that I don't know anybody who to advocate for her side, but truly, girlfriend is a monster.
Basically,
give
Johnny
some
Depp is suing,
background. Okay.
Basically, Johnny Depp is suing his
ex-wife.
It's ex-wife, yeah. For defamation, saying that things that she said, accusations of abuse, have led to him losing opportunities, financial opportunities, acting opportunities. She's countersuing. He's suing her for $50 million. She's countersuing for $1 million, saying that he's not telling the truth.
100 million.
I'm sorry, 100 million, saying that he's not telling the truth about the abuse. But all of the people that come in support of him, you know, there's even evidence enough to suggest that she's the one who was the abusive spouse.
What we're dealing with, I think it's amazing that we're finally going to be able to have this discussion. As you all know me, I was never one of those let's jump on the Me Too thing, because, you know, I think that in relationships, it takes two people to fight. And clearly these two people had the most dysfunctional relationship possible. However, you know, it escalated to the point where, you know, dude, she chopped off his finger, you know, it was getting really hairy. She pooped in his bed, you know, so hoping that he would come in drunk and lay down. And so what we've kind of discovered is that he just happens to be one of those people that he has clearly was an alcohol problem, a drug problem. But I say, you know, that when you go in marrying these guys at that level, because he was already famous and already established. But it just feels like she needed somebody to beat up. We're actually, you know, he speaks a lot about, as a man, his mother used to beat up his father. We heard about a lot of that being a trigger for him, even working through when his mother passed away. And we know that these are things that happen. Women can be abusers too. They just can. And if you're clever, you can play the system. I mean, here in LA, we know that she had called the police a lot on Johnny Depp while she was here. And there was one camera that they had in their apartment building where, before the police got there, there's actual footage of her banging her head up against the wall, so that by the time the police got there, she was all bloody. And her sister was with her while she was doing it to support her and say, so, you know, from the minute, see, I don't know why we have to even have trials, because for me, if I were a judge and that was all, I said, well, I can't believe anything else you say to me. I just can't believe anything, because the minute I see somebody walk outside and bang their head like crazy, so that when the police came, and Johnny wasn't there, and they were going to arrest him. I mean, these are like manipulative things to do that, God, I mean, if they were black, one of them would be dead.
Wow. Okay, just as an interrupting there, Christy White says, I don't believe her. Cinnamon Canela goes, Johnny, he is in trouble. He chose the wrong woman, gold digger.
Yeah, he
and
did.
Christy Wright says, yeah, it's bringing to light abuse against men.
Absolutely. And we need to discuss that, because I've seen it. I know it exists. I also feel it's kind of their karma to play out, but I also feel like, you know, it's not defamation on her part towards him. She has a reputation even before he married her. She dated Elon Musk. I think he paid her $7 million to go away, or something weird happened. He gave her money too. Somebody needs to look up how much Elon Musk supposedly gave her. And she claimed to leave him because she claimed she was a lesbian. I don't know what girlfriend has to work out but she needs to work it out. But next week she goes on the stand and we'll get to see. But I know somebody who had her in their film, and she's difficult to work with, from what I hear.
She's not doing this right at all. My God. It's like, first of all, you're lying and what you're doing is untruthful. But if you ever are like trying to figure out this kind of thing financially, do like Mariah Carey. When she was engaged to dude and moved to Los Angeles from New York and then decided they weren't going to get married, she sued him for $50 million for an inconvenience. For the inconvenience. I mean, this is all nonsense. It's just utter nonsense.
Yes, thank you.
The nerve of you to sue for $100 million. That in and of itself is actually a marker of kind of like abuse. It's like, oh, you're going to sue me? I'll one up you on this. How about that?
Just get divorced. Just walk away. Just leave. I mean, my whole thing was, why would you stay? But there was a real takedown. And now I feel like by watching the actual video, you kind of see that they're like the new War of the Roses couple. They're the Roses. They want equally destruction from the other one. But I also feel that Johnny Depp needs to learn how to care for himself and love himself. This is the second woman in a couple of weeks that we have got to start paying attention to abusive women. We saw it with Jada, and we see it with this one. It's in the air, these very unhappy, whatever these women are doing allegedly, or even the vibe of what they're creating. I don't know. It's terrible. I've been in arguments. I have physically hit a dude before. It isn't cool. No one should ever put their hand on a person.
Period.
It's just wrong. And if you're believing in those old days of Gone with the Wind, you kind of, it's unfortunate. You have your rows and but you don't just sit down and go like, oh my God, poor me. And this one did that, when it reaches that point, it's time to leave, because that is typically with anything. You're not in a good place. It's a bad relationship that needs severe help.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
The thing that you just said about Johnny Depp needs to care for himself. I was having this conversation with someone yesterday that I said,
just like Will Smith, same thing.
Exactly.
There's some issues. We're seeing with boys and their mothers. This is really key. This is such a dynamic relationship. Not to cut you off, Aisha, but it is boys with their moms, and these moms are single moms. Moms are stressed out. The government's not helping them. There's a lot, that relationship, there's a lot of pressure put on young boys to be the man of the house. All these things, these dynamics, that discussion needs to be had, because it does impact them as equally as we say the father-daughter relationship. The mother-son relationship is equally as important. And a lot of times these guys grow up and they're people pleasers, or they want to please because that's their role. And it's critical that they have a support system. Sorry.
Yeah. No, what I was just going to say is that I was having this conversation with someone yesterday, with you saying that, about him, caring more for himself, is that he has to get to the realization that, he is worthy of walking away from bad situations. The conversation I was having was like, my 47-year-old self now is, actually really proud of my 18-year-old self for making some decisions about people and people I was dating that, like, I dodged a lot of bullets. And I think that he has to get to that point where he sees that he's worthy and start dodging those bullets. Because right now he's a waiting target.
Well, the reason why I said this story, to be honest, yes, I don't really pay attention to these stars things, but I do admit that, yes, as Christy said, it's not talked about women abusing men. And
it isn't.
and it's not. And Christy's saying here, it's privilege at its finest.
Totally.
And totally. They really haven't made any even just general movies or things about this issue since 1992. I think I saw one.
That's true.
I saw an NBC Friday night movie or whatever.
Lifetime used to do stuff like this. Look at that Broderick woman. She killed.
Betty Broderick. Oh my gosh. Don't ask me why I know her name off the top. But I watched
Fatal Attraction woman.
They did it's about her, a continuation after the first one, and she was crazy.
But we do have many of them, and we have there's just a lot that, as much as we say, okay, there's a tiger mom, a helicopter mom, and all these things, there's still a lot of pressure when there are single moms because there aren't enough resources to kind of take care of everything that's going on. So it's a chain reaction of how it affects a family and the family dynamic, and then the external men and different people in the family. It's really very difficult. And you got to remember, during that time, Johnny Depp, 1962, he was born. There was very, very little for women in Kentucky, one of the poorest states in the Union. Near the Appalachias, so there's a lot that could stress a woman out with kids, and there not being anything adequate support. And as we know from old Mitch McConnell, they ain't trying to hook people up in Kentucky to make them have a good night's sleep and have all the things they need to have without putting them through the grinder to get it.
Yeah, and don't forget, in Appalachia is where the federal government was doing this test where they're giving mothers Mountain Dew to put in baby bottles and
rotted all their teeth.
The rotting of the teeth.
Wow.